What is happening, everybody? It's another Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970 The Answer, and we're powering your way into June already. Half of the year is almost over. Can you believe it? Half of the year is almost over. Got, what, a couple of weeks till the end of June, and then we move right into July? Boy, the year is flying by. We've got some great stuff for you tonight. We got a lot of news to catch up on because there certainly has been a lot of news that has been happening in the beer world. And we're going to catch up on all of it right now and throughout the show. Coming up in 20 minutes, Chris O'Leary from Brew York is going to join me on the show. He just went to his 4,000th brewery, which just happens to be a place that is an old friend of the show, Trogs in Hershey, Pennsylvania. We'll discuss the trip. We'll get you set for the World Cup beers, because Chris did a little piece on that a couple of weeks ago, and a lot more. Always a good time with Chris. And I have to ask him, I'm sure he's going to go, because he went last year and he had a great time. Pizza Party at Killsborough, which is taking place at the end of July. It's the final Saturday in July. And you definitely want to be a part of it. Now, the early bird tickets are gone. The full price tickets are now in effect. Just head over to Killsborough.com or head to their Facebook page or Instagram. There's a link there. It'll take you right over to the Eventbrite page. Or if you're on Eventbrite, you can just check out Eventbrite. And just do a search for Killsborough, and you'll find the tickets. Listen, it is a fantastic event. I attend it every year. 100% of the proceeds goes to benefiting Snug Harbor's Cultural Center on Staten Island. It's about a 20-minute walk from the Staten Island Ferry. It is very easy to get to. It's right along Richmond Terrace. It's a great day of pizza, beer, and music. Can't beat it. Bring a picnic blanket. Bring a little pop-up tent. For some shade, you are good to go. Speaking of good to go, Heavy Seas recently returned Heavy Seas Blackbeard's Breakfast, which is a 10% ABV barrel-aged porter. Deep-roasted coffee character crafted with dark Sumatra coffee from Baltimore's Chesapeake Coffee Roasters. The highly anticipated small batch release, a complex beer with layers of chocolate, coffee, and a touch of caramel, completed by a smooth, warming finish. I just want to make another reminder for you folks. Saltfields Brewing, which I believe will be at one of the breweries that'll be a pizza party. I know some of the breweries that are going to be a pizza party already because they're the usual suspects that are there every year. But Saltfields was there last year, and they're having their first anniversary party this year. That's taking place this coming Friday, June the 12th, from 5 to 10 p.m. at Public Records NYC. That's located at 233 Butler Street in Brooklyn. Special edition 4-packs will be available for purchase, music and food, too. Come celebrate 1 year of Saltfields. They're a gypsy brewery that brews exactly one beer. And let me tell you something. It's a fantastic rice lager. It's unbelievable. So I do know a couple of beers that are going to be at Killsborough. Obviously, Icarus will be there. Bolero Snort will be there. I think Carton will be there. Twin Elephant will be there. There's a bunch of breweries. Flagship, obviously. I think Mad Love will probably be there, too. There's a bunch of breweries that are already going to be there. They're already locked in for the event. But, boy, I'll tell you, it is a lot of fun. I'm assuming Roundtable is going to be there. Maybe not. But, you know, it's going to be great. Sean has already said there's going to be more breweries than there were last year, and there were 30. So I don't know how many more you can have. And the pizza, we're going to talk to Sean in a couple of weeks and get all the details. Trust me. You don't want to miss this. But can you tell that I'm excited about this event? Just a little. All right. Moving along. This was a story I wanted to do now, but I'm going to push this to the last story in this segment here, and there's a reason why. But Vermont craft brewers very happy. They're one signature away from expanded self-distribution privileges. The state Senate had approved a bill back on May the 21st that would allow malt beverage manufacturers to self-distribute up to 3,000 barrels of beer under their existing manufacturer licenses. An earlier version of the bill capped it at 5,000 barrels. The bill has gone to Governor Phil Scott. He's expected to sign it within the next 2 weeks. And if it is signed, the new law goes into effect on July the 1st. Vermont's existing statute allows breweries to distribute their own beer, but requires them to form distinct distributing companies to do so, which can include separate sets of books and tax filings, additional insurance, and annual license fees. I'm assuming this was to separate money to make sure that nothing was being laundered in any way, shape, or form. Vermont Brewers Association Executive Director Emma Arian told Brewbound in a written statement, Section 6 represents a limited and practical modernization of Vermont's alcohol laws that will help small breweries navigate a rapidly changing distribution landscape while preserving the integrity of the state's three-tier system. So they've had a number of distributors in Vermont that have gone out of business or have sold, and so a lot of those breweries either they were absorbed by another distributor or the distributor decided not to take them and left them sort of out in the cold. So that is not a good thing. And if passed, this bill puts Vermont brewers on near equal footing to their peers in their neighboring states. In New Hampshire, brewers whose annual output is fewer than 15,000 barrels can distribute up to 5,000 barrels. Maine breweries producing fewer than 30,000 barrels may sell directly to licensed retailers without a wholesale license. So again, it doesn't disrupt the three-tier system. They're still able to do that and get their beer out to local bars and other places. It's a smart move. It's a really smart move. And obviously, Vermont has a huge craft beer scene. So you don't want to screw this up. Again, it's tax revenue for the state. So this is something you don't want to mess up. So kudos. Hopefully the governor is expected to sign it into law. If it does, it will help out Vermont brewers in a huge way, which is always a good thing. Now, this story came out a couple of weeks ago, and I was unsure of whether or not to talk about it or not, but it seems to be having a little bit of a buzz here, and so I'd prefer to inform you, and then you make your own decisions, and I'll give my opinion on this. So James Watt, we all know who James Watt is. He was one of the co-founders of BrewDog. BrewDog, which was bold and brash when they came out, equity for punks and, all this anti-establishment type of stuff. Well, they took off in a fire, and then they sort of burned out very quickly to a lot of people. They sold equity shares. The equity shares ended up becoming worthless because just last year they ended up selling the business to Tilray Brands. Full disclosure, I am a stockholder in Tilray, just to let you know. And Tilray closed up a lot of their pubs, is sort of consolidating the brand into one or two beers that BrewDog makes, and then are going to, have somebody brew them and redistribute them, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, James Watt took to social media a few weeks back and announced that he's getting back into the beer business. And he says he's bringing some old supporters along with him. The co-founder and former BrewDog CEO announced the launch of a new drinks company called Second Best. He plans to hand over nearly 1/5 of the company to former BrewDog crowdfunding investors who saw their investments disappear when the once high-flying craft beer giant unraveled. So again, they sold to Tilray. Thousands of small investors who bought into Equity for Punks got no money off of the deal, which, of course, they were not happy with. Under the proposal, original BrewDog crowdfunding backers can claim the exact same ownership percentage in Second Best that they once held in BrewDog, and they could do it without paying a penny. According to Watt, there is no buy-in, no special class of stock, no hierarchy putting founders ahead of fans. He says the shares will carry the same standing as his own. Now, he's gone a step further by describing those investors not simply as shareholders, but as second founders. He says he's funding the company himself, giving away 19.3% of the business because he feels a personal obligation to the community that helped build BrewDog during its rise. Thousands of people trusted his promise that they were helping create something valuable. Now he says he feels responsible for delivering on that commitment in some form. So the initial lineup, expected to include canned beer, starting with 2 pale ales and a lager. Brewing is going to take place in Germany and elsewhere in Europe. Beer fans, though, may have to wait a little while before cracking open a can. He says licensing requirements, Watt says, and legal approvals mean the company will first launch what he describes as an alcohol-adjacent concept before the beer eventually reaches shelves. So how long is that going to take? The long-term plan also includes physical locations, though on a much smaller scale than BrewDog's worldwide footprint. He's hinted at opening a limited number of beer-focused venues in London and Scotland. All right. So basically, he's saying, give me a chance. You'll get free stock. I'm only going to brew the beer in Europe, and we're only going to put brew pubs in Europe. All right. So if you're an American who's invested in this, invested in it before, do you care? I certainly don't. I wasn't an investor, to be clear. Do you believe what this guy says? Do you believe that he can get a second chance? I'm all for second chances. But I think the way they went about it, to anger and piss off a lot of people. I don't really see much success out of this company. And I don't see people in Europe. Again, this is probably going to be Europe-centric, right? He's not talking about coming to America. He's talking about leaving it in Europe. I think a lot of Europeans are turned off by this guy. And I think a lot of Europeans are going to say, you know what, go scratch. I don't want your free stock. And I'm sure that there are people that have signed up. 100%. But honestly, for me, I think it's much ado about nothing. I think we've seen this press release. Let's see the beer when it gets out there. Let's see what happens. I don't think this company is going to be a success, and that's just my 2 cents. And when we come back after a short break, we're going to have more news from around the beer world, including our weekly segment with Gary Monterosso, and he's talking about Heady Topper. Oh, yeah, the OG of craft beer. Coming up next on the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970, The Answer. Welcome back to the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970, The Answer. What a beautiful weekend it was, right? Hot, summer-like. A little bit of rain on Sunday, but boy, it was nice, wasn't it? Really nice. All right, so originally we were supposed to have Chris O'Leary on the show. He's actually going to join us on next week's program. He got tied up with some work stuff this week and was not able to break away to give me some time. So we will talk to him on next week's program. But without further ado, I want to dive into this here, and then we'll get into some other beer news in just a moment. But our weekly segment with Gary Monterosso has arrived, and it's all about Heady Topper, I believe. Take it away, Gary.
I'm Gary Monterosso for the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast. Before hazy IPAs became one of the most popular styles in craft beer, there was Heady Topper. Brewed by The Alchemist in Waterbury, Vermont, this 8% ABV double IPA helped redefine what an IPA could be. First brewed by John Kimmich in 2003, Heady Topper stood apart with its cloudy appearance, juicy citrus and tropical fruit flavors, and a softer bitterness than the West Coast IPAs that dominated at the time. Its growing popularity inspired brewers across the country and helped launch the hazy IPA movement. Today, nearly every craft brewery offers a hazy IPA, and Heady Topper remains one of the most influential beers in modern American brewing.
Oh, thank you, Gary, for that. I remember my first Heady. That was probably right around that time, maybe a year or two, after that. And I remember, if I'm not mistaken, I remember that I had my first Heady Topper on Staten Island, and I believe it was at the old Adobe Blues because they were the only ones that could get it. Now, it might not have been right around 2003. Maybe it was a couple years later. But I remember the owner of Adobe Blues would drive to Vermont and pick up a couple of cases and bring it back, and you were able to drink it. And that is really the start of the Juicy IPA. And believe me, Heady is nowhere near what a Juicy IPA is now. The style has completely changed from when Heady first put it out to what it is now. And, Gary was sitting there talking about the softness and a little sweetness or whatever. There was... as I recall, barely any sweetness to it. It was different from that bitter punch of a West Coast IPA, but not what you would – it's certainly not a treehouse beer, let's put it that way. Not by any stretch of the imagination. So good stuff there. Love that little trip down memory lane. We're going to take a trip down memory lane in our next segment. We're going to talk about some patriotic beers that are being made for the America 250 from a couple of different breweries, one on Staten Island, one in Brooklyn, and the one in Brooklyn taking part in this collab with the New York Public Library. So we'll talk about that in our next segment. And Sam Adams is doing some stuff too. So we'll talk about those things in our next segment. However, let's dive into some news and notes here because 8 and Sand, we talked about this a couple months ago, they're closing their operations. They've actually sold the business. So they're closing, but it's reopening and rebranding excuse me, as a different brewery. But on Sunday, June 28th, that'll be the last time that 8 and Sand will be open down in, is it Marlton? I don't remember where 8 and Sand is exactly. I know it's South Jersey. I don't remember exactly. Well, anyway, they're closing. They're doing a whole bunch of different things for the final month, guest beer tenders, a lot of other things that are going on. But they're not. Again, it's not closing. Woodbury, New Jersey. Sorry, they're not. They're closing, but a new business is taking over. I think it's Freckled John, I believe, is taking over. Yeah, Freckled John. They're the ones that are taking over. So they're going to do a couple of little things to spruce up the place, and then they're going to reopen again very soon. So it's not the end of the location, but it is the end of Ain't and Sand as a brewery. So there you go. And we wish the folks from Freckled John good luck in the new venture. The newest member of Lawson's Finest Sunshine family is here. Easy Sip. It's a 4.5% ABV mellow IPA that, as they describe it, floats across the palate with citrusy and floral hop notes and a clean, bright malt character. It's made for mindful sipping and deep inhales. It's easy the whole way through, inviting you to slow down and enjoy the moment. So there you go. 4.5% ABV IPA. And I am sure, because it's Lawson's Finest, it is probably delicious. All right, Funky Buddha is turning 13, and they are throwing a beer-fueled fest on Saturday, June 27th. Enjoy 40-plus draft beers, brewery games, fresh beer releases, cocktails, food specials, and more down in Florida. Free to attend, good times guaranteed. More info on the draft list, beer releases, and a lot more to come. So as we get that in the coming weeks, we will certainly send you that information. Now, if you are a fan of Witchcraft, the event that my good friend John Henderson and his cool crew, puts on in October, right around Halloween. Tickets for that go on sale on July the 1st at 10 a.m. Witchcraftnj.com. It sells out every year. You're basically camping in the woods, spooky costumes, and drinking beer. It's a lot of fun. John and his crew put together a fantastic event, and everybody has a great time. I've never done it. But I've heard from a lot of people that have done it that it is just absolutely awesome and that you need to take part in it. So there you go. Tickets go on sale July the 1st, witchcraftnj.com for more information and, of course, to get tickets. Now, Zed's Beer, which is down in Marlton, New Jersey, has a new beer out inspired by the World Cup. So it is it's an IPA. It's 48 hops for 48 teams. Since there are 48 teams in the tournament for the World Cup, they did 48 different hops here in this beer. The result, it's a layered 6.2% IPA with 74 IBUs and a label inspired by Philadelphia's host city colors, because Marlton is not too far from Philly. Makes sense. And they are hosting some games. Just 48 cases were made available to go, but the beer will be available in the tasting room all throughout the tournament. Founders Jeff Beto and Laurie White have built Zed's into an award-winning South Jersey staple, 22-plus core beers, a loyal soccer following. The brewery is also an official Union Pub partner and home-based loyal soccer fans, including the Sons of Ben Union supporters group. They are positioning Marlton as a destination for regional soccer fans, extending hours to host 17 consecutive days of watch parties throughout the tournament. And Jeff is going to be on the program next weekend to talk more about this. That's pretty cool. 48 hops. How do you blend 48 hops into a beer and get it at 6% and get it to taste really good? We'll talk to Jeff about that. That's kind of intriguing. So, I like that. I like that they're doing that. I know some breweries up north in North Jersey, close to the World Cup action, are doing some things as well. In fact, if you want to park in a spot pregame and then walk to MetLife, Bolero Snort is your choice. Right in Carlstadt, it's a 15-minute walk from the brewery to MetLife. Maybe you want to do that. All right, finally, before we wrap up here, Brew at the Zoo over at the Turtleback Zoo. Now, I went to Turtleback Zoo as a kid. I took my kid there. They do this Brew at the Zoo every year. I have never been to it. I heard good things about it, several years ago, but this kind of bothers me a little bit here. So if you want to get tickets, it's tbzbrew.com for tickets. It's from 6 to 9 p.m. on Saturday, June 27th. The VIP tickets are already sold out. Now, if you're a member of the zoo, the tickets, for general admission right now, $100 if you're a member, $120 if you're a non-member. Listen to that. $120 for a non-member, $100 if you're a member, general admission, 3 hours. Okay? Now, what does that ticket get you? Get you into the festival, get you into for those samples. And the money obviously goes to taking care of the animals, conservation programs that protect wildlife, educational experiences for thousands of visitors. Totally get that. I'm all on board for that. But here's what I'm hearing from people. People that are in the brewery business, people outside the brewery business. Not as much beer as last year, more seltzers, and breweries are being asked to donate the beer. Okay? On top of that, they're being asked to pay their way in. So not only are they asking the breweries, hey, by the way, can you contribute your beers to this event because we're raising money for the zoo? Okay, great. But now, oh no, if you're pouring at the event, you need to pay for your own ticket to come and any of your employees that are going to be pouring. Really? 3 hours for $120 is insane. Understanding, again, that the proceeds go to helping the zoo, that is wildly expensive. I would not be surprised if this event doesn't go off next year because breweries are dropping out. I know for a fact that a couple of breweries said, we're not doing this. I mean, I get asking for certain things. This is outlandish, folks. Now, if you want to go, great. If you've had a good time at it, it's rain or shine, and there have been moments where it's thunderstormed and whatever, and you're stuck, okay? But $120 if you're not a member for 3 hours of drinking, and you're asking the breweries to donate their beer, and then you're asking them to pay for their way in on top of it, that is a massive ask. If I were a brewery owner, I would absolutely say no. There's no way. I'll tell you what, Pizza Party is less money for a ticket for 4 hours on Staten Island, okay, for beer and food, okay, and 100% of those proceeds goes to Snug Harbor. So you're wildly outlandish in prices. Shame on the Turtleback Zoo for doing that. I think that is completely wrong. And if anybody is listening from the Turtleback Zoo and wants to comment, contact me, albertg@nycradio.com. Be happy to talk to you about it. Coming up next, we're going to talk about patriotic beers that are being made for America 250 right here in the New York City area, specifically Staten Island and Brooklyn. That's next on the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970, The Answer. Welcome back to the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970, The Answer. Hope you enjoyed the weekend. I certainly did. Ugh, summer. Summer is back. Summer is certainly my favorite season, without a doubt. There's no question that summer is my favorite season. I love the warm weather. I love being outdoors. I love hanging at concerts, listening to live music outside. There is nothing like it at all. My wife hates the summer. My wife is not a fan. In fact, she has put down an edict over the last couple of years. She no longer attends summer concerts because it's just too hot for her. Like there's an 80s show that's happening and I wanted to go, and she's like, no, you said August. Forget it. That's not happening. I'm not going. You want to go? Go ahead. Go have a good time. There's no way I'm going. Okay. But there actually might be a concert in August where it's indoors where there's air conditioning. She'll be like, all right, I'll do that. I get it. I totally get it. All right, so it's an all-news edition of the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast. Chris O'Leary is going to join us on next week's program, including Jeff Beto from Zed's Beer as well. We're going to have a jam-packed program next week. Now, we talked about, I teased before this segment here, we were going to talk about patriotic beers. We're going to get to that in a second. However, those of you who are regular listeners of the show know that Scott Wells used to be one of the co-owners of Bolero Snort Brewing. He left a couple months ago to head up a restaurant up by him in Northwest New Jersey, and it's called the Greenwood Tavern. Many people know it up in that way. And they are looking for employees. They're looking for bartenders, servers, hosts, bussers, barbacks. GreenwoodTavern.com/jobs to apply. Obviously you have to be in the Jersey area. You have to be 18 and older to apply. You have to have weekend and holiday availability. Experience is preferred, although it is not required. So definitely want to, if you're interested, head over thegreenwoodtavern.com/jobs to apply for a job. Now, let's dive into the patriotic beers for a moment here. First up, and there's not much left, but Flagship Brewing did a beer with the Francis Tavern, which is a historic tavern in New York City. If you've never been there, it's right downtown, Lower Manhattan. If you take the Staten Island Ferry over, it's about less than a 10-minute walk to the Fraunces Tavern. The Fraunces Tavern played a major role during the American Revolution. It is famously known as the place where George Washington said farewell to his officers in 1783 after winning American independence. It has stood as a symbol of friendship, conversation, and American history ever since. And that is the spirit they wanted to capture with Samuel Fraunces Tavern Ale. It's a beer made to be shared with a nod to the places that bring people together. They did a very limited run of cans on this. They only have about 20 cases left, and once they're gone, they're gone. You can pick that up at Flagship Brewing. Obviously, it is available at the Fraunces Tavern as well. So if you want a little piece of Americana history and you want to learn more about George Washington, definitely go to the Fraunces Tavern. Then take a walk up to Federal Hall, which is where George Washington was sworn in as the first American president. And you can do a tour of it. It's right across the street from Wall Street. It's beautiful. There's a lot of history here in Lower Manhattan, where I broadcast out of, about the history of America. Beer, certainly. When the Germans came over, they brought beer with them and beer-making apparatus. All of that exists in and around Manhattan, which is really cool. The other beer that is patriotic, that is New York-centric or Brooklyn-centric, basically, Talea beer. So Talea teamed up with the New York Public Library to brew George Washington's original beer recipe. That's right. For those that don't know, George Washington was a big fan of beer, loved to brew beer. He was a big beer guy. And so Julie Golia, who's a historian and curator at the New York Public Library, has shared the history of George Washington through people's eyes and ears. But now you can do it through the taste buds. So Talea announced two different versions of this recipe, the original version that George Washington brewed, but also a version that Talea did that's a little bit softer on the palate. And not as forward, and I'll explain in a moment. However, not only can you drink this beer, but also at the public library, at the New York Public Library, they are offering timed tickets to see a draft of the Declaration of Independence from July the 1st through July 7th. The draft, which was handwritten by Thomas Jefferson, includes a condemnation, which was later excised, of slavery. In the Declaration of Independence. So you want to check that out. You can sign up for tickets and go see that. It's a timed, it's a timed ticket. So you get a ticket. They tell you what time you have to be there, and you can go and you can see this handwritten draft of the Declaration of Independence, which is pretty cool. Now, George Washington wrote out the recipe, and the reason why he did this was because beer was drunk much more than water was, because water was not clean. Before filtration systems were invented in the 19th century, water a lot of times polluted, bacteria. They peed in it, they pooped in it, whatever. There was no, whatever. So the recipe called for boiling the water, obviously boiling the water to get all of the bacteria out of it. Because of that, it was free of waterborne diseases that were common before filtration became widespread in the 1900s. And as they explained, if your entire regiment or garrison gets dysentery, it's a real liability. Now you're talking about guys are sick, they can't do their job, a big problem. So the Continental Army was hobbled by rampant sickness before the Battle of Brooklyn. And because the Americans lost, they had to retreat. The British took over and, got backed up until finally they made a push. Now, what would end up happening is Washington would make this beer, and he would use molasses, boiled water, some spruce hops and stuff, and make this beer. And they would drink it, and each soldier would get a certain allotment. And the beer was very, very mild, 2%, 3% at best. So you could drink it during the day, and it would fortify you while you were marching to whatever location that it was. Now, here's the side benefit of all of this, right? So the troops loved it. Talea has recreated the recipe. They've done two different beers on this one. Here's the cool thing. If it wasn't for George Washington getting dysentery, which he did end up getting, he went to seek treatment. So he went to Williamsburg in Virginia's Tidewater region. And who does he meet while he's dealing with his dysentery? he met Martha Washington. So if he hadn't made the beer, if he had drunk more of the beer, he might have never met his future wife, the future First Lady of our country. Think about that. That's kind of cool. It's a cool kind of history nugget there. I love it. I love learning about history and stuff. So I'm intrigued to try the Talea beer. If I get a chance to try the Tavern Ale, I certainly want to take advantage of that. But it is really cool how George Washington, from a historical standpoint, brought different things together, and it came about because of beer, which is really, really cool. All right, and then finally, Samuel Adams has released the Brewer Patriot Collection. So it's a limited edition 4-pack. It was produced back in 2006 and then never heard from again. And I remember having one of these. I think I had the George Washington one. So they brewed them for the Founding Fathers, George Washington, James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, and, of course, Samuel Adams. A George Washington Porter, James Madison Dark Wheat Ale, 1790 Hard Root Beer, and a No. 3 Ginger Honey Ale. I think I had the Hard Root Beer, and I'm pretty sure I've had the Porter. They're also doing a Raise a Sam national campaign to bring drinkers together this summer. It's a goal of generating 250,000 cheers moments. It features classic summer brews, limited edition merchandise, brand activations at iconic American events, on-premise samplings, activities at local breweries and tap rooms, and exclusive social engagement. Fans can participate using the rallying hashtag #RaiseASam, where they'll have a chance to win $250 in beer money as a thank you. This is the Star Spangled Variety Pack as well. This is another a separate release that features 4 beloved summer brews in retro-inspired patriotic packaging: Summer Ale, Porch Rocker, American Light, and the exclusive Blueberry Lager. That's pretty cool. I got to contact Sam Adams. I have to get some of this stuff, which is really cool. So the 4 beers, though, that they did for the Founding Fathers, each of the 4 beers features unique, historically based ingredients and based on the original recipes that showcase how far the craft beer movement have come. It is available now at GiveThemBeer.com. It's $17.76 for the 4-pack while supplies last. So the Porter, based off of George Washington, the special ingredients in this is molasses and licorice, which is what he used to make beer. The Dark Wheat Ale is smoked malted barley is the special ingredient. The Hard Root Beer is molasses and honey and vanilla. That's the that's the John Adams one. And then the Thomas Jefferson one is the Ginger Honey Ale. Ginger beer was a staple in colonial kitchens of the 1700s. They kept Thomas Jefferson and his wife Martha kept multiple notes on different brews. They brewed 15 gallons every 2 weeks at the Monticello estate. Ginger, lemon peel, and honey in this one. That's really cool. And then they're going to be doing a whole bunch of different things. A 4th at the Wharf in Washington, D.C. The Sail Boston is part of Sail 250 in Boston. Big Bite tour stops in Philadelphia, Chicago, and more. They're doing a whole bunch of different things. So check it out, SamuelAdams.com for more information. Kudos to Sam Adams. Of course, what would you expect from the godfather of craft beer to come out with beers that are based off of the original Founding Fathers and that is priced at $17.76? Kudos to you, Jim Cook. That's awesome. When we come back after a short break, final segment of the program, let's talk about beer in general, what one brewery is doing, Von Ebert, out in Oregon, and how they are making a lot of money on a lager that they've priced very cheap. That's next on the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970 The Answer. Final segment of the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970 The Answer. This is Larry Basillo, and she is phenomenal. I believe she is a Brazilian guitarist, and I think she's playing in October. Iridium? Maybe? I don't know, somewhere in Midtown. And I might actually get tickets and go see her. She's really, really good. I've been enjoying listening to her. Just guitar, no vocals, good stuff. All right. So for this final segment, as I teased in the last segment, Von Ebert Brewing, and we've talked about Von Ebert, plenty of times on this program. they make some great beers, but Jeff Allworth and his Beervana blog, I love reading because I always find he writes about a lot of different things about beer. And there's a lot of times he touches on things that I don't really even think about because obviously he's more well-versed in the beer world than I am. A lot of people are. I just enjoy the business and I enjoy beer and I enjoy exploring the different stories and the different breweries and how they do things. Anyway, I digress. And so Von Ebert, a couple of months ago, according to Jeff, started doing a new thing, and I think we talked about it on the show because they did do a press release about it. Their Clubhouse Lager, they put on sale at all of their brew pubs in Oregon for $3. It's a 20-ounce pour. It's in their distinctive Clubhouse mug, and it's $3. It's not for a happy hour. It's not for whatever, right? It's the regular price for their beer. Any time of the week at all three of their Von Ebert locations, it's $3. Okay? Now, when was the last time you paid $3 for a 20-ounce craft beer? Couldn't tell you, right? It's been forever since you paid that price. I mean, you pay $3 for a Bud, $3 for a Miller Lite, but that was, the 90s. Not anymore, okay? So, not only have customers, not only does it help the business, but customers love it, right? They feel like, the customers, according to Jeff, that you're taking something from them. You're stealing, like, $3 for a beer. And what they found, which is really cool, so it's what they call a value beer, right? And it is kind of funny. The reason why they were doing this, I mean, I'm sort of bouncing all over the place here. I apologize. What they have found out, though, 3 months in, is that not only are people ordering it, right? They're ordering a couple as opposed to, well, I'm going to have one or two and then I'm going to leave. So they're staying longer, but they're coming back. They're getting more repeat customers that, hey, remember the last time we went to Von Ebert? It's $3. Let's see if it's $3 again. Oh, wow, it's $3 for this beer? This is great. So they're drinking more of it. And that is really, really the thing here, is that they're getting repeat business. So Sam Pecoraro, the brewmaster, said, listen, if we're going to do a light lager, let's do it right. Let's not copy another beer. Let's just put our heads together and make the best light lager available. So the beer debuted 7 years ago, came in at 3.8%. They had it in cool mugs, fun theme beer. It sold well, but then by a little after the pandemic, the sales lagged. Now, I think a lot of that probably had to do with the pandemic and the restrictive rules. Oregon had a lot of restrictive rules back then, so maybe that's what it was. But the brewers weren't happy with the lager either, so they redid it. They figured out what was wrong. They swapped out some corn for a little bit of rice. They brought it down, right back down to that 3.8%, and they started serving it, and the beer just took off. It was a hit. So much so, they've won gold and silver at the most recent World Beer Cups. They won gold at the most recent GABF. They were putting it on tap at golf courses because they know that most golf drinkers are not craft beer drinkers. They wanted something light and easy when they're on the golf course. So they started doing that. Distributors were interested. Hey, what's this beer? Things started rolling. So when you really think about it and how it happened, it's an enormous success for Von Ebert. And they are just nailing it. So they said, these were the numbers. They said, on orders when someone got a Clubhouse, this is from Jeff Allworth, the overall check brought in roughly $8 more. That's 22% than in parties where no one did. People who drank Clubhouse returned to Von Ebert 15% more than those who did not, and 28% of guests who ordered Clubhouse have returned at least twice. And at their golf course location, sales of Clubhouse shot up 57% after they initiated the change, and they went up 35% in their Beaverton location. Now, they make a profit off of that $3 pint, but you have to sell a lot of it in order to make money. And they're doing it. Again, they spend more money. They come in and they have a couple of clubhouses. Maybe they have something else. So it's interesting to see how a beer priced at $3 has been an enormous success for Von Ebert. So I wonder, would breweries elsewhere be able to do this and make money? Now, I'm sure there are some. I don't have the list offhand, and maybe we'll talk about this with Chris O'Leary next week when we have him on the program. But what's really striking, and I'll use this as an example. Wet Ticket Brewing, who took part in New Jersey Pint Day, we'll talk about New Jersey Pint Day in just a moment, they still price their beers almost the same as they did 10 years ago. So a Kolsch, a 16-ounce Kolsch, I think is still $5. A lager, I think, is like $6. IPA is probably around $7 or $8. But they haven't gone much higher than that. I think their barrel-aged beer, their Imperial Stout, is priced a little bit higher, and it's a smaller pour. It's a 10-ounce pour. But you can get a 16-ounce Kolsch or lager at Wet Ticket for somewhere in the $5 to $6 range. Now, it's not the $3 range that Von Ebert is doing, but also Von Ebert has 3 locations. They're mass-producing, et cetera. But you can still get a great local beer in New Jersey for $5. And I could drink Tim's Kolsch all day long and not have anything else. And then I look at my check and go, wow, it's only $50? That's all I spent? I mean, that is a big, big deal. So I wonder if other Jersey breweries can do it. I'm sure Bolero does it with their Jersey Lager, their Jersey Sarcasm Lager. Other places, do it as well when it's a lighter beer. And I'd like to see more of that because I really think you can, if you're mass producing this, then again, lager takes longer to make. It's not something you can do in 2 weeks, but it's impressive. And what Von Ebert has done is tremendous. Now, would I see somebody selling a lager for $3 in New Jersey? Probably not. And the funny thing is, Jeremy Watts, the brewmaster over at Source, was at this new little amphitheater in Freehold. That's an extension, I think, of Starland Ballroom. They were selling an Asbury Park beer for $16. I mean, that's just outlandish. And by the way, he mentioned in there that in order to buy in to this, amphitheater or whatever and have beer for the summer, you had to buy in, you had to pay $15,000. So you'd automatically have to be charging at least $14 to $15 for a can of beer in order to make your money back and hope that your cans sell out every week or whatever it is so that you can, recoup your investment. That's a lot of money. I mean, that's crazy. Now, New Jersey Pint Day was this past Thursday. Big success. I went over to Twin Elephant, whose artist is the one that designed the New Jersey Pint Glass. $1 from each glass purchased goes directly to the Brewers Guild of New Jersey. Some places may still have pint glasses left. You can certainly pick one up. A lot of places were doing specials. Twin Elephant, it was $10 for the glass, or for $15, they would you could have a pour in the glass and get to keep the glass, which is really cool. And I love this. I love this idea. Other states do it. I would definitely like to see next year a culmination event where all the New Jersey breweries get together and there's a big party where I think proceeds would go towards, helping the Brewers Guild. I think that's something that needs to be planned and needs to be done. We'll talk to Bree about that when we get closer to the New Jersey Beer Conference that's coming up at the end of August. But look, I thought New Jersey Pint Day was a big success. Hopefully you got out there and supported your local brewery. Again, some places may still have glasses. Some places ordered a couple of cases. Some ordered, one or two. So you might not have gotten in on it. Next time you will. We've talked about it enough. If you didn't know that Thursday was New Jersey Pint Day, shame on you. But, what a great job by the Brewers Guild, by Bree, by everybody involved in New Jersey Pint Day and the pint glass. It's beautiful. I love it. I'll be pouring most of my New Jersey beers in it for sure. I do have some themed glasses from some New Jersey breweries, but I will certainly be pouring the majority of my New Jersey beers in my New Jersey Pint Day glass. So there you go. That's all the time that we have for the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast. I want to thank everybody involved in the show. And, of course, last but not least, the great Buddy Watson. I will be back on the Joe Piscopo Show at Monday morning at 6 a.m. And coming up next week, we got a jam-packed show, so I hope you stay tuned. This has been the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970 The Answer. You know what I say all the time at the end of the show, right? Cheers, everybody.